the Unholy Alliance exposed. And they've been talking about robots. And they've been talking about world leaders. They've been talking about the various actions that world leaders have these backhanded, backdoor deals, and then they'll craft a narrative of an objective that they're gonna launch an objective. They're gonna wrap a false narrative around it, disseminate that to the people, and we don't ever really hear about the back end story of it. Which they've been doing this for so long, they're like master pros at it. And so this guy Walter Vaith or whatever his name is, I don't remember. I think he's SDA, which I'm not into the SDA stuff at all. But it doesn't mean that I can't hear history or information from someone. So he's kind of going over and detailing really what the real motivation was between these world wars. And he's showing that there were powerful forces behind these world wars that were fueling both sides for an objective. And very interesting when he gets to this portion about how Israel was formed and what people did, the lengths that man went to to achieve their will. Listen to this.
They planned, and there are numerous quotes for this, so I've put a number on the screen because some will say, I don't trust this, I don't trust that, I don't trust the other. Here are references down there are references up there will be references in other slides, so it comes from different sources. He said, and this was, by the way, on display in the British Museum and could be seen there until it was taken away. The First World War, to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia, protector of orthodoxy, and bring about an atheistic communistic state. Did that happen? Yes. Now that was written long before this event. Long before this event. This was written in 1871, but this war broke out in 1914. The Second World War, that's also written long before the event, to originate between Great Britain and Germany, to strengthen communism as antithesis to the Judeo-Christian culture and bring about a Zionist state in Israel. Did it achieve this objective? Yes. In fact, after this war, Israel in its present form was reinstated under the protection of Britain. And then, interestingly enough, a Third World War, a Middle Eastern war involving Judaism and Islam and spreading internationally. That's fascinating. Broke out in 1940. Enough, a Third World War, a Middle Eastern war involving Judaism and Islam and spreading internationally. That's fascinating.
So these are weird. These are really weird little baby bibby weird. I don't even know what that is. The moment I saw that picture with that man, now remember, he's a Christian, right? They're all Christians. They get away with a lot of evil and lies by putting on this mask facade of I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian. But then they go ahead and they do whatever it is the will of whoever the person pulling the strings are behind the scenes, which when you really do your history and your research and you find out it's usually some psychotic bloodline family that is uber wealthy and has some type of ties to Lucifer and is usually of one or more specific identities of a particular country. And they have all these little puppets underneath them and they sort of pull the strings. And as I have read their writings, they have a third world war, a true third world war coming in which they launch an attack for the purpose of depopulation. And they use the little people, so the little people, not the people in the government. The people in the government are all friends and brothers, right? And all the little people in their country, they cause them to go to war. You get Ishmael's kids all piping hot, and you get the children of Abraham in the flesh, in that country, and you get them to attack each other. You fuel both sides. That's what's happening, because that's what evil does. Satan, his thing in life is to be worshiped and to kill things that God made. That's what he delights in. So that's the agenda that he pushes. And most of us, so many people resonated with principles within those New Age movies and Gnostic movies of the Matrix because they felt like there was a lot of truth telling that helped to explain the reality that we live in to a degree, built on all these lies. And then people put in whoever they felt were the ones that erected these lies. But in all reality, when you do your research, when you read, when you take in a lot of information, when you really start doing your research, you'll find out that there really are unbelievers out there, whether they be Jew or whether they be Gentile. They are not the sweet little innocent kittens that they portray themselves to be. And you have a lot of things shaping up. You have well over, really, when you sit and think about it, we're talking about groups of entities that are ushering the human population into one. We're at the tail end now of everything that they have put their time, effort, and energy into. And it's just so strange because people have never been more uncaring, unaware. I truly, truly believe that they have put elements within the environment to cause people to be at that level of duh, where you just don't care about anything. As long as you're entertained, as long as you got your air conditioning at home and you make some money at work and you come home. This is what most people do, and I'm not being rude if you do. I'm just telling you, our reality has been scripted and sculpted for us. Come home and you turn that black demon box on, one of your devices, and you watch TV, and they know what type of things to say through those devices. And sadly, most people, they they just want to stay in that place of not knowing. And even this is the strange thing that I've noticed is that we get closer and closer and closer to the coming of the Antichrist. As we get closer to the basically 7 billion plus people in the world all starting to sort of align together as a big Goliath, really in typology, a big giant Goliath, and then this little group of born again Christians the world over is like David, right? We've got this big giant lion behind us, metaphorically. And as we get closer to the point where this stuff is going to tick off and happen, it's just the most remarkable thing to me. It really is like the explanation given by that Morpheus character in Matrix, where he says, there are people that don't want to be broken out of this prison. And he's not wrong at all. And that's kind of where we are, where people that it's strange when you live in a country like America and people are so used to sort of living in the lap of luxury, so to speak, the middle class, even the working poor to an extent. If there's something bad coming, it's like, don't tell me because I totally don't even want to know. I'd rather just, this is how most people are. Not all, but most. I don't even want to know about it. And for a lot of Christians, it's one thing when it's a Bible study about the end times and it's way over there in that book in theoretical form, as long as it doesn't come and affect my life, right? And so they construct this reality. I'm convinced they've constructed this reality where they've told themselves Jesus is always coming, right? And this is what they tell themselves. They must in order to get through this life blindly. So they tell themselves that there's never going to be a point where he ever actually comes. He's just always in this state of coming, right? And that's part of what you have to work through and break through when you start discovering that your world leaders are all together on this stuff and they're against the little people. This is why James said things about the rich. This is why Psalm 2 said things about the kings of the earth. This is why we've been given all this amazing intelligence in the Bible. The way that I even know how to navigate what's going on, the truth versus the lies on most things, not all, but most things, is because I'm taking my information from the Bible. I don't care what CNN says. I don't care what the television says. I don't care what the Trump speeches say. I don't care what the photographs say. I just know that God told me that the kings of the earth are compiling against us, and that not every time you have a king in office is it directly from the hand of the Lord. My word, just read Hosea. If you read nothing else in the Old Testament, read Hosea. It will tell you. It will tell you about even Jeremiah. You know, it's not enough to read the Bible. You have to study it. You have to study it in its original word context. You have to meditate on it. And our culture does not support a type of relaxation where you deeply and heavily think upon things. They support an Eastern empty your mind kind of a meditation. But it's that TV that just is the all ruling God in most people's lives. They get home, they turn that thing on, and then it tells you what to think, what to dress, what to eat, what to say, what words to use, how you're supposed to train your children. And then every institution out there goes in to re-emphasize. When I went to college, it was all about pushing this liberal agenda. It was all about telling me, oh, I should totally let my kids just, be the little animals that they say they are, and they should just be able to go and what is a nice word for that? Whatever, with everything that moves. And I shouldn't even try to instill any level of control or whatnot in children when it comes to adult activities and the uh, uh, bringing forth life, right? They try to reinforce that and tell me and fit me into their little mold. And I've never been good about fitting into molds. I've never been good about being manipulated. I've never gone quietly into those situations. Oh, yes, please tell me what to think. Tell me what to do. Tell me this. Tell me that. But that's not most people. Most people very much like to be told what to do. And for whatever reason, they don't form their own thoughts. So you literally have the Bible coming along telling you what is right and what is wrong. And when you really start to see this whole thing evolving and showing you that so often the things that get placed upon God's head as if he's the one that did it. And yes, he's sovereign, but he also gives us free will choice. And so you have this whole story. This is where I'm going with this. You have this whole story erected that, God made Israel a nation again. And I don't have a problem with Israel in and of itself. I don't have a problem with Israel having land. I don't have a problem with a lot of things that a lot of people do that I don't spend a lot of time listening to them. What I do have a problem with is when scripture is telling me something that's really important about the timing and the nature of what's happening with Israel, and it doesn't comport back to or go along with or pair up to, or however you want to phrase that, what I see happening. And so, again, for me, it's always been about Matthew. Matthew 24 and Matthew 25 have been the center point of my existence, something I've continually been connected up with. And when I see the fig tree growing and the other trees growing, and I'm sitting here watching this new branch of humanity with an abominable branch and proselytizing all over the earth, erupting, and I look at what scripture says, I don't just go by the English. That's a translation. I go into the manuscripts that are available to me through Bible Hub, the work off of the manuscripts to get into the original language. And very clearly in Matthew 24, it's not that Israel is 70 and yay, everything's great and dandy, it's all going to be wonderful. That was from the work that men did to create that. But there is scripture in Ezekiel that God would bring them back to the nation. I just don't know that them saying that Israel's 1948 birth was all God and that everything that Israel ever does is God's will, and that you have to agree with everything that Israel does. And if you don't, then you're an anti blah, 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 and you're wicked, and you're a bad person, and we're going to name call you, and we're going to put you in jail, and we're going to erect laws, and we're going to this and that, and blah, 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 and have you yoked with Israel? Are you going with Israel's Messiah? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't bargain for all that. Hold up, hold up. You see, I can't have Jesus and I got to go with this other guy? That's not what scripture teaches. What scripture does teach in Matthew 24, watching the fig tree, And the other trees is this worldwide evangelism that's going on. And we'll be doing a video about that very shortly. Jason A just did a video, and he's showing you how all these world religions are uniting. They're pressing more and more and more. And Jesus Christ said that when you see that happening, know that I am near, I am at the door. It is the very next thing. Well, should we be watching and paying attention for this Feast of Trumpets? This could be the most important 9 days of our lives. Or we might have to wait. I don't know.